What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very sleepy Sunday for me. We usually start out talking about our week. It's been one.
Bright as hell outside. It's bright outside. How could it be How could it be a sleepy Sunday?
Man, have you ever dealt with flood damage before? I never have
Yes.
until this past week.
Oh, okay.
So they say it's awesome to live close to work, and it is for the most part because your commute's short. But when a storm hits that area and your house is 4 minutes from work, there's a possibility both places could get flooded, and that's what happened to me this last week. So, woke up on Tuesday to messages from from the owner of my company saying, "Hey, I think the office got flooded. Can you check it out?" 6 inches of water across the first floor of our office building, and then as I'm going downstairs to get ready to go check out the office, I stepped downstairs in the basement. Squish, 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 whole basement's flooded. So
Wow.
I had to shoot out of there and shop vac my entire basement Tuesday morning, then come over to the office, and I was working on cleaning the office for the next 3 days. So
Oh, man, that sucks.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I bet, man.
Yeah. I am not.
You should get an extra day off. They should give you Monday off.
You would think. Problem is, all the time I spent cleaning the office, my other stuff wasn't getting done. So I actually probably have to put more hours in on Monday. Don't believe what they tell you, kids. You don't want to grow up. You don't want to grow up. There's nothing good about it. Really isn't.
And you want to leave that job to do movies full time. What's wrong with you?
I know. Why would I leave that paradise
Never
to
wanna
watch
do that.
movies all the time and write about them, and talk with my buddies on the internet? I mean, that seems stupid. Who would want to do that?
That seems stupid. Welcome everybody to Cinema Royale. This is not custodial talk. This is Travis and John Noel here talking movies. We are the Punch Drunk Critics, or two other Punch Drunk Critics. I was just thinking we should start a stream, like a Twitch group.
Yeah.
For film critics who are also gamers.
Yeah, I mean that Venn diagram has to cross over quite a bit. So
Well, I was on there last night, and there's a group for just pro wrestlers who are gamers. There's a whole bunch of them.
oh really?
They have their own little group. But, I was like, we should we do one for film critics that are also gamers? Like, I don't know how many of them there will be, but I'm sure there's some.
I mean, you know, critics, we love a chance to promote ourselves. So if we set up the group and call some people in, I'm sure we'll get some.
Yeah, I think we could do that. I might actually look into that once I reach the point where I can create a team.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
I'm not there. I'm not quite there yet. I'm still building my group. I haven't quite got to 50 followers yet. I'm getting there.
Well, and that's cinematic _ enforcer or just enforcer?
Underscore enforcer.
So make sure you follow Travis on Twitch with that name. We were talking last week or something, and this is going to go into inside baseball business, but doing a couple contests or something like that to get people on the train. So we need to get that done. I think I got some.
We're definitely going to do some. We're definitely going to do some contests on there once we reach a certain point.
Right.
But yeah, that's absolutely a must to do stuff like that. It's been fun though. I've been enjoying the stream. It's been a lot of fun.
Is it let me ask you, is it like an outlet for you? Like I know you get some real talk going on there and movie talk and all kinds of stuff.
Sometimes I do talk movies on there, but I talk a lot of wrestling on there too and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been kind of fun. But mostly I just enjoyed playing the games.
Yeah,
I've been playing Overwatch. So, and I was playing some Knights of the Old Republic on there, but because it's on Xbox. It's being converted. It's a little buggy, so I kind of stopped.
Oh,
but I might play a little bit more once I get to Knights of the Old Republic 2. I'll do that one on there. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been good. I enjoy it. I just wish I had more time to do it.
I know, right?
Like I can't be one of those consistent streamers that has like a day and time they do like a full schedule. Like they know when they're going to be on every time and they're always there. Can't do that, man. My schedule's too bonkers, even with us stuck at home. So
and that's the true test right there. Is even when we're in quarantine, it's still ridiculously all over the place.
Yeah, it's the same. Nothing's changed. But it's been kind of a busy week. A lot of stuff came out this week in terms of movies. Palm Springs, Greyhound, The Old Guard, Relic. Those are 4 big movies that came out this week.
Right.
Last couple of weeks, maybe last 3 weeks, we've had a lot of really big movies that were either supposed to come out this year in theaters, or whatever, and a lot of them have kind of landed on streaming services and on digital because of everything that's been going on. And over the last 3 weeks, there's been a lot of them going back to Irresistible and stuff like that. There's been just a lot of these movies, and this week there was a bunch of them.
Right.
So it was really busy. Plus, I had that interview with Gina Prince Bythewood and Kiki Lane that I did, which you can find on the site right now as well. So it's been kind of nuts this week.
Yeah.
But fun. Not overwhelmingly so. And actually, I don't think I have any reviews for next week, so I might actually get some time away for the first time in what seems like ages.
Well,
but we'll see. The last time I said that, I ended up with like 4 reviews that week.
Yeah, I don't know why you even said it out loud, but
And I probably put some bullshit into the atmosphere now. I'll look at my actual schedule and be like, oh, well.
What are your plans for, as a perennial Comic-Con attendee? What are your plans for the virtual con this year? Or what are you thinking about it?
I mean, I'm signed up as press for it. But as far as I can tell, I don't know if they're doing anything specific for press anyway.
Yeah, it just seems like it'll be open,
Yeah.
Zooms, basically this, but with celebrities or panels.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Like everything's going to have like a specific link that you click on to go to. Kevin Smith is doing something. I think he's going to be debuting footage from his upcoming movie, Killjoy, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Kill something.
Yeah, he's Killjoy's right. It's that dude that everybody was big in World War II. That I can't describe it, but yeah.
He's going to be showing footage from that. But there's no Warner Brothers, there's no Marvel Studios at all. Mm-hmm. So they just like released a Saturday and Sunday schedule, and it looks bleak compared to how it used to be. You know how it is when you're there at Comic-Con when Saturday is the most anticipated day.
Oh yeah.
And there's nothing like that. There's no Warner Brothers or Marvel. So there's like, oh well, what are we here for? I don't know what. Looking at the schedule, like normally on Comic-Con weekends, on Comic-Con years, I would post the schedule like every day, like that. Every day they put it out, I'd post the schedule. Like these are the things to look forward to. I don't have anything on there that I'm seriously looking forward to.
I mean, I think this is one of the true. A lot of people have been saying, "Oh, well, they're doing all this stuff virtually, and it's really showing how the virtual world can change and keep things going, and maybe they'll do this going forward." I think Comic-Con is going to be one of those things that says you can do something, but you can't do this. I mean, it's not going to be the same. I mean, even if as somebody who's never been, that's always wanted to go, even not being there, knowing it's going on.
The year you were going to go, COVID hits.
Yeah. And so I'm sorry, everybody. This is all my fault. I started saving money for something I haven't done for the last 10 years, and here we are.
You know what you should do now? You should go to Sundance instead.
That's actually a good idea. I actually haven't touched that savings money that I had, so that's a good idea.
You should go to Sundance instead. Assuming, because they've already announced a sort of hybrid festival of like online and stuff that's going to be like at multiple locations outside of Utah. Might not need to go anywhere for that either. So, I mean, I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing is, I hope they use this stuff. It's fine to do that, but I hope it's as something to increase, availability. You don't change the core thing in the future when it's safe to do so. But you can certainly learn from this to add on to it and make it a little more accessible for everybody. It's not going to dip your numbers. People aren't going to say, "Oh, well, I can watch the Marvel panel online. I don't need to go there." Because if you're going there, it's about the floor. It's about all the big set pieces they have out and all the cool stuff and being around all those people, smelly as it might be, to see that.
I mean, I don't want these things to get too available. I like the exclusivity of it too. So
yeah,
but that's partially the selfish part of me that likes it because I can get into those things. But I mean, I don't know. They lose some value when everybody can go and do the same thing. Like go do the same thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, the exclusivity. But if what everybody can do is see the panels. I mean, and the panels they'll never really do that because they always have some clip or something they're not showing to the public, so they won't show that. But putting some of the CW panels online or whatever is fine. But
the thing is, most of those things become available online anyway. Like most of those things, they put them online anyway. But they'll edit out like any footage that they show.
Right.
Yeah. Like the Marvel panels, like every single one of them has been online. Mm-hmm. You can find them all, but they'll cut out like the part where they showed like a trailer for something that no one else got to see.
Right.
Like that very first Black Panther trailer that they showed. that no one has still ever seen. Like, it just never came out.
Did that never come out?
The very first one they ever showed, the very first footage of it, which I remember being there for it, they never put it out. Ryan Coogler had begged people in the theater, please, in Hall H, please don't put this out there. And that was like the one time where people actually didn't do it. Like, they didn't put it out there. No one did. It never came out. And it was mostly the car chase and the fight scene at the casino. Mm-hmm. It's mostly what it was. And it was like, we were like, everybody was blown away, of course.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But that trailer never came out. The one that they eventually put out of Black Panther was completely different.
Wow.
Totally different. So
I didn't know it. I didn't know that ever actually happened. I mean, I remember the most secretive one that I saw was The Mandalorian. And even that, it was only the most secretive because the footage that leaked was exceptionally crappy.
Because it was somebody sitting in a seat somewhere.
Right. Yeah. With their cell phone sneaking video. So,
yeah.
But so like you mentioned, it has been a busy week. And for all I was doing, like I talked about with that flooding, I had a lot of couch time. It's probably because I had the excuse of cleaning up after that stuff when I came home to tell my kids Daddy's not playing today, and my wife let me sit on the couch. But, like you mentioned, the Old Guard, Palm Springs, Greyhound, and a bunch of stuff coming out. But something else happened over this week that I just wanted to touch on real quick because I don't think it had really happened yet when we talked last week.
Okay.
So we talked about Hamilton last week, and I had the soundtrack stuck in my head on Sunday up to Monday, and I was like, I'll watch a couple minutes of it, get it stuck out. And then I've watched it 2 more times since then. I hate being the guy that's that late to the party and it's all about something after 3, 4, 5 years after it's out there.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a good show. And did we talk at all about the backlash against it last week?
No.
So, what are your thoughts on?
I've totally ignored it because it sounds stupid. What is the backlash?
The backlash is just basically saying that since the people that are portrayed were slave owners, they should only be portrayed as slave owners, and they shouldn't have a play about them, basically, or because even those that weren't fighting against it.
As much as I am in support of this movement to contextualize and confront this country's racist history. We're doing it more now than I think we have at any point in my life. Right now. You don't have to do it for every goddamn thing. The thing about Hamilton is the very nature of it is an answer to all of that.
Right.
The very nature of it, by putting people of color in these positions as the founding fathers of this country, is an answer to all of that. You don't need to go an extra step.
Right.
You don't need to do it. I don't see the point. It just, and I don't like it when people use the term cancel culture, because I think that's dumb. It's, it demeans what is, I think, a very real need to be against and to turn against things that are hateful.
Right.
Because cancel culture is always against something that is hateful.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like people who want to cancel J.K. Rowling. Well, J.K. Rowling's being a real bitch right now, and to trans people. I don't care if you cancel her. Go ahead, the way she's acting, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like it's always against something that is hateful, which I'm totally against. I'm totally for it. Please cancel those things as far as I'm concerned. But when you label it hashtag cancel culture and you start getting all upset about it, it demeans the entire thing.
Yeah.
But Hamilton, you don't need to go an extra step. Like I said, the very nature of it, of what Lin-Manuel Miranda was doing, was in response to this country's entire history of being for white men, about white men, history created by white men.
Right. And that's kind of,
we don't need to do more.
That's kind of where I was, but I like asking
those
these
people
kind
aren't
of questions.
thinking about Hamilton. Those people aren't really thinking about what Hamilton means. They're just looking at it as solely as a play solely as a show. That's all they're doing is looking at it solely through that lens. They're not actually thinking about what Hamilton is.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of where my thoughts were. But my perspective is skewed on these things, and I know a lot of people out there are probably the same as me and want a little bit more information to see how it is throughout for other people. So I figured I'd bring that up real quick. But we've spent a lot of time on stuff like that over the last couple of weeks. So let's talk about something. Not that it's too much time, or not that it doesn't deserve it. But let's talk about something fun. We both saw. I know you saw The Old Guard before I did.
Yeah.
And
I'm curious. You probably already know that I love that movie. I think it's great. I mean, my review has been up for over a week. Talked about it a lot this week. Like I said, talked to Gina Prince Byfoot and Kiki Lane about it. It was a really fun interview. But I'm curious to know what you thought of The Old Guard now that you've seen it.
Oh, I mean, I loved it. I loved it. I thought it was great. And,
I think it's the best of the action movies that they've done, Netflix.
Yeah.
I think it's the best one they've had.
Yeah, and Extraction was really good, too. And there's not really parallels, but the structure of the movie, specifically, the end credit scene almost mirrors the same. You can tell they're trying to build, not universes, but franchises out of these films. But the thing that struck me...
Netflix has made a turn. They turned a corner. Before, they were just trying to... In the beginning, they were just trying to make movies to show that they can make movies. And then they wanted to make prestige movies. So you had your Romas and your The Irishmans.
Right.
And I would say probably since about that horrible Cloverfield movie that they bought. The space one, Cloverfield Paradox, or whatever it was, which is really bad. They've been trying to build franchises. Now, I think they realized they couldn't do that by buying other people's refuse, like Cloverfield.
Right.
But they could do it by bringing in top filmmakers and making movies that you would generally see in a theater. Which is why you got movies like Extraction and why you got movies like The Old Guard, and why you got movies like Bird Box, which they're talking about doing a sequel to. These would be blockbuster movies in a theater, and Netflix is bringing them to you, and they've turned that corner now to trying to focus on that and building franchises. And all three of those movies I just mentioned, Bird Box, Extraction, and The Old Guard, will be franchises. Like, they're already looking like franchises. One movie in for each of them.
Right.
Like they're going to be building into something more. That's where Netflix is at right now, and I'm here for it. I like it so far.
Oh, yeah.
And in terms of those three movies, they're 3 for 3. They're not batting 100 for all their movies, but those three, yeah, they're doing.
When they really swing, they tend to hit. And the thing about Old Guard is that whereas Extraction could yield a sequel or two, same with Bird Box, this has the chance to be a real universe type deal, just based on the premise of it. For anybody that hasn't seen it or hasn't read the premise, essentially they're immortal mercenaries that have fought through time. They don't know really why they're immortal, but they're immortal.
I don't need to know that either. I don't want to know.
What do you mean?
I don't want to
why
know
they are.
why
Yeah, no,
are.
I don't need to know why they are.
I don't want a sequel to delve into the origin of their race.
No, I wouldn't want that.
Whatever they are. I don't want anything like that. I don't want to know. Please don't.
I say treat it like Assassin's Creed. Like give me the Old Guard Spanish Civil War. Give me the Old Guard medieval times. Because they established that Charlize Theron's character is over 2,000 years old in the film, and it's just this movie hit on a lot of different levels. With the climate of today, they managed to address a lot of the diversity and inclusion points that have been missed in other places without hitting you over the head with it, which I think is important, because nobody wants to be included. You don't want to have an LGBTQ character and say, hey, look, here's our gay guy. It's a person that's on the cast that you don't really you don't spare them out because of that. They're there because that's how it is in the real world.
Well, this is one of the things that the Old Guard does really well, and to expand on sort of what the movie's about for those who haven't seen it, and judging by the insane reaction people had to my review, there's a bunch of people out there who were really eager for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I told Gina that I was surprised and shocked by the level of response to that review in particular.
Right.
Like people were going nuts, not for my review necessarily, but for the movie,
right?
Wanting to see it so bad. But to expand on what the premise is, they're immortal mercenaries fighting the good fight. They're not like bad guys; they're fighting the good fight. And like I said, Andromachus, which is Andy, Charlize Theron's character, has been around for a couple thousand years, but that team has been around together for almost as long, and they finally have like a real threat to their lives come in at the same time that they discover a new member of their group, of their tribe, I guess you could say,
right?
By Kiki Lane, who's an ex-Marine in the film, named Niall, and so they got all these things coming at them at the same time. Mm-hmm. The characters you're referring to, there's a couple of characters in the team that are gay. And one of the things this movie does really well, because there's a billion movies about immortals and how living a long life isn't all it's cracked up to be. Everybody's done that story. This is the first time in a long time that I've seen one that actually makes me feel like, yeah, being immortal could really kind of suck.
Yeah.
The two gay characters, one played by Marwan Kenzari from Aladdin. You got to imagine in their situation, they've been lovers together for hundreds of years. You think being gay isn't tolerated by people now?
Yeah.
Imagine how it was across millennia.
Well, even past that, they met in the Crusades on opposite sides of the Lord. Exactly. That's like the worst time.
Exactly. And but going through hundreds of years of intolerance has forged this bond with them that is utterly unbreakable.
Right.
And they have a really fantastic scene. There's the one scene that almost made me cry in the movie when one guy's professing his love for the other.
This is your boyfriend. Is this your boyfriend or something like that? That scene you're talking about? Yeah.
Well, one is being tortured basically, but it's a really fantastic moment, and this movie does a really great job of individualizing each character, putting their immortality into context, what it means to that specific character.
Right.
Like all of them they're different people. They all have different outlooks on what their immortality means.
Right.
And I think it's one of the great things about it. And then you put that into the context of Kiki Lane's character, who's brand new to it and doesn't understand anything about what living forever means. It's a lot of stuff in there. And then you manage to put in there some really great action scenes, like that fight between Kiki Lane and Charlize Theron on the plane is really fantastic. The only complaint I had about the movie is that the villain kind of sucks. His motivation is while I understand it, it's pretty weak, and the guy playing
generic. That was Dudley Dursley, right?
It is Dudley. No, it's totally Dudley.
Yeah,
it's Harry Melling. It's him. But it's just that the character doesn't really do much for me. He never felt like a threat, like at any point to me. So.
Yeah, and he kind of came off a little, and I'm with you almost to the letter. I mean, my only downside was the villain. And honestly, in movies like this, the villain to me is something that can elevate a film, but it doesn't really hurt it as much when it's a straight action movie, because you kind of, or at least I kind of expect the default generic bad guy, and that's what he was.
Physical threat. They need a physical threat for like the sequel.
Yeah, but he didn't even they didn't even give him like in Venom, another movie that had issues. The bad guy there, you felt like he really wanted to help at the end of the day, even though he was being evil to do it. Whereas the Dudley Dursley in the Old Guard, he just seems like he's evil because he wants those profits. He runs a pharma company. He wants to figure out what's going on.
Which is real. I mean, if there was a Martin Scorsese type who found out that there was a
oh god,
you remember him, don't you?
He looks about as creepy as Martin Scorsese.
Right. I mean, he actually does. He looks a little bit like Martin Scorsese. But if there was a Martin Scorsese type who discovered something similar to this, do I doubt for a second that he would do the same thing?
No, absolutely not.
So his motivation, I get, and it strikes home. I get it. It's just the character itself didn't really do much for me. And he had his right hand man who was sort of like his physical, did the physical stuff for him. but he just kind of showed up out of nowhere. He didn't really mean much.
Right.
They need like a real serious threat, like somebody who's been hunting their kind for generations or something. So they need something like that.
A Kurgan, if you will.
Right, exactly. They need something like that. But I don't want this to turn into Highlander either.
Right. No.
You gotta I don't want to. Right, I don't want to discover that there have been thousands of them, like in some on some other country somewhere, or there are thousands of them scattered around the country somewhere. I don't want that. Part of the thing that makes it special is that this feels like this is all of it. Like this is it. Like this is all there is. Like these 5 or 6 people, that's all there is.
And
like
the mystery surrounding it.
The discovery of Kiki Lane's character is like a big deal. Like she's like the first one in like a few hundred years.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wanted to stay like that, stay unique like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Now I have an idea in my head about what they could do. That would be awesome.
Well, I mean, I think the oh wait, you mean for the sequel or to explain it? I mean, I think that was one of the, and I don't want to spoil anything here, but let's just say the one thing about immortality that people don't really think of when you look at these movies is what your most horrible possible fate could be if you couldn't die, and they kind of address that in this, and that's really all I'll say, and it plays into everything.
There are fates worse than death for somebody who can't die.
And I'll tell you, there are very few movies make me squirm or like have a visceral effect on me. Just like Jesus, but the more I thought about that, the worse that it became. And there's just so much. I mean, you mentioned Gina. What's her last name?
Gina Prince Bythewood.
There you go. She's the director of the movie. What's that?
First real action movie.
Is her
the one who did Love and Basketball and Beyond the Lights.
Right.
And this is her first real action movie. She's supposed to do that Silver Sable and Black Cat movie for Spider-Man, but that doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
Well, I mean,
it's the first real action movie.
That's the second part of what I was speaking to as far as the role this plays in enhancing diversity and things like that is action movie directing. We've had female action stars. It's always been a hard-fought battle, and there haven't been many, but directing action films has been few and far between for female directors. I mean, you have, I'm blanking today. The Punisher Warzone, what's her name?
Lexi Alexander.
You have a couple like that, but
you always make fun of me because I always say her name first whenever we talk about.
Yeah, you do. That's why I was kind of pissed that I couldn't remember it. But this feels just like any other movie, as it obviously would. It's just directing is not a gender specific thing, but it takes it to stand up with the best of action movies now. But then there's Charlize Theron, who, this is obvious to everybody, but as I was thinking about it, I was like, man, what a weird trajectory for a career. Like, she went to the A-list dramatic actress Oscar winner thing, and then went into the action movies, and has become just as effective as that. But it seems like she's almost, I don't want to say going backwards because that implies a negative thing, but she has become, in her mid-40s, a first-rate action star. And, between Atomic Blonde and this only, you don't even have to put anything else in there. That should put her up there. It's just impressive that she's able to do all sides of the stage. What?
Mad Max.
Mad Max, yeah.
That was the role that really did it in terms of making her an elite action star. Was that remember they tried to turn her into an action star earlier in her career with like Aeon Flux. They tried to. I
was saying Aeon Flux, but then no, I was thinking Ultraviolet. I knew she was in that. I was mixing
Ultraviolet.
Yeah, it was Mia Jovovich.
Yeah. But they tried to turn her into an action star early on, and it didn't really take. Didn't help that Aeon Flux is a bad movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mad Max, that was 2015. Mm-hmm. That really did it. And then of course, Atomic Blonde had some great action sequences. I don't think it's a great movie. Had some really good action though. Mm-hmm. And then this, she's just been, of course, she also did Fate of the Furious. I shouldn't leave that out either.
I'll leave it out.
Huh?
I'll leave it out just because it came on the other day, and that haircut she was rocking in it. I don't know.
It's also possibly the worst of the Fast and Furious movies. It's really bad.
Right.
Fate of Furious is really bad.
Yeah.
Even by like you can forgive anything Fast and Furious standards.
Yeah, that was the one that
really
Jason Statham
lame.
has the baby on the plane, right? Is that the same one? or is that the sequel?
That's the one. That's the one where Vin Diesel and The Rock wouldn't do any scenes together.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
because they were beefing.
Yeah.
So they had to like navigate the script around that. It was just stupid. It's just a dumb movie.
So all in all, I'd say The Old Guard is a go for your action movie pick on Netflix this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. The Old Guard is definitely a go. I'm pretty sure most people by now have already watched it. Most people I know who are looking forward to it have already watched it. So
right.
But yeah, it's a really great film. I can't wait for them to do more, and I know they will. I did ask Kiki and Gina if they would come back for sequels. They're both
tight-lipped
to watch it.
Jumping over to Hulu, Andy Samberg, who until I watched,
tell me you watched this.
Yeah, I did. Until I saw Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I could not stand Andy Samberg. I don't know what it was about it.
I still can't stand Andy Samberg. I took heat on Twitter because I had tweeted how much I love Palm Springs despite Andy Samberg.
Yeah,
and and I got a lot of replies from Andy Samberg fans and fan groups that were not happy with me saying that. But I don't like the guy. I just don't find him very funny.
Well, I'll tell you,
really like him in Palm Springs.
The thing about him is in Brooklyn Nine-Nine is the only time that he's really likable. When he's goofy, he's childish, but he's also heartfelt and he's serious at times, and you kind of get that into it. And yeah, whatever. But it's when he's.
God damn it! Every funny white man can play that role.
I don't know. He's exceptionally good at it. Where he really rubs me the wrong way is when he's trying to be Adam Sandler, or I should say Billy Madison Jr. He's trying too hard. Like his Parks and Rec arc, almost all of his bits on Saturday Night Live. Hot Rod. These are all things where he's trying too hard, and it comes out.
Hot Rod. I hated that movie so bad.
But
that was one of those I wanted to walk out of, but I didn't. Palm Springs though is brilliant, and let's not forget. So Palm Springs played at Sundance this year, and I purposely avoided it because it was Andy Samberg, and I felt bad because everyone there said you should go see Palm Springs. You should go see Palm Springs, and then it turned out to be the highest selling film ever in the history of Sundance, like $17.5 million by Hulu and Neon, which is a lot of money.
Neon is awesome. I love those guys.
Yeah, Hulu's doing some really good stuff too. And the movie, and plus the premise to me sounded like, it sounded like something I could take it or leave. It was like, okay,
how many Groundhog Day movies do you need?
Yeah, I know. I was like, it doesn't excite me anymore to hear people say it's a Groundhog Day-esque premise. Like that doesn't do anything for me anymore because everybody does it. But this is a really different take on it, and it stars Andy Samberg as a guy who's stuck on a time loop doing the same day over and over again, except it's on the day of a wedding, and it's not even his wedding. It's somebody else's wedding that he's attending.
Right.
And Christian Milioti plays someone who's there at the wedding as well, who also gets stuck in the time loop, and the way she gets stuck in the time loop is really funny too. And that's something. This is something that we haven't seen before, and it's not so much about trying to like reverse events or stop somebody from doing something. It's about falling in love in this kind of situation, and it's really interesting. I did not expect I was going to like it, but I just found it to be really, really sweet and funny, and their interactions with each other were just brilliant.
Right.
And I didn't expect to like the movie as much as I did, especially for something it's so short. It's like 90 minutes, like less than 90 minutes. It's a quick get in and get out. You enjoy yourself. And if there were a movie that I think was like perfect for the summer, it would be this. It would be this movie. This would be a great summer movie to watch at like a drive-in right now. To go and watch it.
Oh yeah, especially a drive-in at the beach because I don't know if they actually even do this, but I know rich people do this in their house. You get that inflatable screen, you projector outside, you sit in the pool and watch it, kind of like they're doing up in the corner there. It's like I said, Groundhog Day thing has really, I don't know why, but it sparks my anxiety whenever they do these repetitive day things. I will say this really didn't. Like, they always, like, the first time they go through the day, it's the full day, and the next time, it's 80% of the day, and then it's just little bits of the day as they go on. As long as they make that transition to little bits of the day quickly, I'm good. I did think it was more sweet than I thought it was going to be. I'm not putting that as a bad thing. It was a little different than I expected. But that being said, it is kind of the perfect little mix of summer movie, romantic comedy, with a little bit of lean on the comedy that I think, as a date movie will definitely work out.
Yeah, and I think in terms of showing the evolution of a character who's kind of who could come off as problematic, which Andy Samberg's character is, because he's he's doing the same day over and over again, but he's kind of taking advantage of the situation in some degrees.
Right. Wouldn't we all? I mean, not in the ways he does, but
yeah, of course. But it could be problematic.
Yeah.
I was thinking about. I guess what I'm thinking about when I say that is there's been. That's just not necessarily backlash, but I guess a re-examination by Joseph Gordon-Levitt of 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah.
Because his character is really obsessive over Zooey Deschanel's character in that movie. And and that was my favorite movie of that year, and I still love that movie to death.
I actually remember you really liking that movie.
Yeah, I adore that movie. And he sort of re-examined it and talked about how that the villain of that movie wasn't her, it was him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's a context that we had back then when we were watching it. We watch it, and you kind of look at her and you're like, why won't she be with him?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, but the thing is about that movie, and why the re-examination of this is interesting is because I always felt one of the things that made that movie great was that at the end, it kind of comes around to that position. It kind of comes around to that position that, in fact, it does come around to that position. No kind of about it. Not that he's necessarily a villain or a bad guy, but that her feelings are to be respected. He's not respecting her feelings at all throughout that movie.
Yeah, she's not a game to win. She's not a trophy.
Right. She's not a prize or anything like that. She's a person. And the movie eventually comes around to that, of him recognizing that. So it didn't feel like it needed to be a movie that needed to necessarily be re-examined. And I don't necessarily think he needs to be placed as, his character needs to be placed in the light of being a bad guy.
Right.
It was just seen from his perspective. And all of us who've been through bad breakups cast the person who broke up with us as the bad guy.
Oh yeah, I mean,
1,000% of the time, we cast that person as the bad guy, whether they are or not. We may eventually when we get over it, that's when we realize that we need to respect that.
And that first week or two, there's
not at first.
Yeah,
no, that's not how it goes.
Never.
That's how it goes. We all do that. I've done it. You've done it. Everyone's done it. So I don't. but Palm Springs sort of does the same things in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because his character goes through a lot, especially when it comes to matters of love, and his character goes through a lot with Kristen Miliotti's character.
Yeah.
Which I don't want to spoil because it goes through a lot of evolutions over the course of 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But he could easily be cast as being somewhat of a similar character.
Well, I think if this movie was made 10 or 15 years ago, it would have been the same as 500 Days of Summer. I mean, that's something that took a long time to come around, is that kind of dichotomy of the good-looking guy versus the ugly guy. Ugly guy does the same things the good-looking guy does. Good-looking guy's sweet and cute. The ugly guy's a stalker, you know what I mean? And that's always been, right down to, go back to John Cusack and Say Anything. Standing outside the house with a boombox, one of the most iconic expressions of love in movie, and it's basically very creepy, and you should get the cops called on you. Yeah,
it's kind of creepy. Yeah, all those movies from back then could probably be context like that.
Oh yeah,
especially if they had John Cusack in.
Well, the John Hughes movies are especially bad because you have I don't know if it's Pretty in Pink or 16 Candles, where Anthony Michael Hall basically date rapes a girl, and that basically he does.
16 Candles.
Yeah, those re-exam. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's really smart for that because he's. I'm not doubting his sincerity, but even if not, he's beating everybody else to the punch for the day where somebody doesn't have something to write and they re-examine.
Somebody will go. Yeah, somebody will 10 years from now, or somebody will go and rewatch 500 Days of Summer and call that joint out. Cancel 500 Days of Summer.
Yeah, exactly.
That movie from 2006 or
Yeah,
whatever.
everybody's just gonna start doing that for everything. You're gonna have a lot of people coming out and saying things. So, man, but
it's amazing that it's been almost 45 minutes already, and we've talked about 2 of the movies we want to talk about.
I just looked down. I was like, shit, better get to Greyhound.
Let's kind of breeze through Greyhound. We don't really need to talk about Relic. Did you watch Relic?
No, I did not. It's on my list. I really wanted to. I just didn't get a chance.
It's very much worth watching. I mean, it's a ghost story / movie about dementia with Emily Mortimer and Robin Nevin and Bella Heathcote. Love Bella Heathcote. And while I'm bringing up how much I love Bella Heathcote, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Kristen Milioti.
Oh, I like her.
Okay, that was the question. That was it.
I didn't not so much.
I like how I don't have to actually say anything more. I can just say Kristen Milioti.
Well, I am what I am. You know, whatever happens with that.
I was thinking it, so I asked it. So I mean, it's the same thing with me.
I mean,
I never really watched her before. I didn't really pay that much attention to her in like The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, or How I Met Your Mother, and she was always.
I never really paid much attention to her.
She always reminded me of Kate Masucci, kind of, in a way. But in this,
I can see that.
It's a different, I don't know, different angle on her. And she's and she's very, you know, it's her personality that drew me in. If I'm being honest.
Sure. We'll go with that. Okay.
Yeah, we'll stick with that. Camila Mendes also in the movie. For anybody that was wondering, she's a piece of fine wine. That one.
Which one?
Camila Mendes. Plays
yeah.
Veronica on Riverdale.
Yes.
She's got a little like underbite that's adorable. I don't know what it is about it. I'm digging it. We're sitting here talking about not objectifying women and how people are getting on it. Here I go. You did that on purpose. Let's move on.
Let's talk about Greyhound.
How hot was Tom Hanks?
What?
How hot was Tom Hanks? See, I can do it for both genders. I'm not discriminatory.
Yeah, try. What did you think of Greyhound?
I liked it a lot, but I thought it was going to be a lot different. I don't know why I did. Naval battles are always more cerebral. It's definitely not Saving Private Ryan level. But I do wonder if this was... I know Tom Hanks came out and said something similar, but I do wonder...
Very disappointed that this was not on the big screen.
Yeah, and I wonder if that had some effect on my viewing it, because there is a difference. I like to think there's not sometimes. I can watch something on VHS and enjoy it just as much, but for certain movies, having that huge screen and that high-end surround sound really envelops you in something like this. And naval battles in particular are so claustrophobic and isolated that
I love, not necessarily big into like naval movies, but I love submarine movies.
Oh yeah, that's terrifying.
You know, Das Boot, U-571. I love U-571.
Right.
I even like K-19, The Widowmaker, and shit like that. I mean, I love those movies.
Right.
You know what this movie reminded me of? It reminded me of a movie from a while back called Enemy at the Gates.
I remember and loved that movie, and you're right, it is similar.
Jude Law, with their like snipers, whatever, and basically just man versus man type stuff.
Yeah, you're in a war, but it's two people.
You know? Right. This reminded me of that, and I was not expecting that from Greyhound.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is 90 minutes of naval battle.
Yeah.
I mean, there's practically nothing else to it. Now, that is actually a detriment in and of itself, that there isn't much else to it beyond that. While I found the action part of it exciting, and there's plenty of it, you know, I also found myself wanting to know more about Tom Hanks's character, because he always like hint at his faith and stuff like that, and his insecurity, this being his first command. But it didn't take any time to go into any of that stuff, really.
Right.
And like, oh, he's a good man because, you know, he talks to the black chef, you know, and stuff like that, which I'm like, you know, I get, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it was the 40s.
But they don't, and that would have been fine if they had done something with it, but they don't actually do anything with it, and they don't actually follow up on any of that stuff that they kind of hint at. It's just battle, which is, you know, cool in its own way. But this movie was originally with Sony, and it was supposed to come out in theaters. Mm-hmm. And then Apple bought it not that long ago. It's been like maybe 2 months, like maybe not even that. They paid like $75 million for it. So they put down a lot of money to get this movie. I don't know if they were expecting it to possibly be an awards movie or something. You don't usually throw down that kind of money for nothing.
I just don't. I don't see this being a blockbuster in the summer. But
I think if they had intentions of putting it out in theaters, they would have expected it to be a blockbuster. But it's just, and I don't think it would have been. But Apple was just so desperate for content. They need content for Apple TV Plus so badly. They were willing to put out big money for a big name project like this. This is a big name project with Tom Hanks in it. I mean, Tom Hanks is really the only star in the movie. Unless you count Elizabeth Shue.
I always count Elizabeth Shue.
I'm sure you do, but I don't. As much as I like Elizabeth Shue, I don't count her as a big star. But there's not much more to this movie than that, and that stuff is really exciting. The battles are really good, really very well done. Can't remember the name of the guy who directed that thing. Andrew Schmidt.
Andrew Schneider.
Aaron Schneider, who did Get Low.
Aaron, yeah, Jesus
he
Christ.
He did Get Low, which I remember seeing at Sundance, I think. This is not the kind of movie you expect from him either. It's a different kind of film for him. But Greyhound it's a solid movie, and I hate that word "solid" because it doesn't really mean anything. It's like interesting, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But in terms of like describing it, I guess in my review I described it as admirable, because that's what it is. I feel like it does a good job of depicting the heroism of these World War II naval captains, what they would risk, what they're
up against,
what they're up against, what the dangers are. I mean, I can't think of anything worse than being on a ship like that with a torpedo coming at me, with torpedoes and mines in the water everywhere. I couldn't imagine how frightening the tension that would be.
How do you go to sleep at night on your bunk knowing that at any point? Yeah, and so that was the biggest draw to me was not the action, and what I think they could have used more of was the suspense. I mean, what you're hitting on there is the biggest draw to this movie. And when I first saw the trailer, I was thinking Jaws with big naval warships, because you have the Wolf Pack, the Nazi Wolf Pack, which are their U-boats that there was nobody matching the Nazis underwater during World War II.
Took me out of it when that guy was calling them and speaking in English too.
Yeah,
that part didn't work for me. I understand why they did it. It might have even been true, but it didn't. It didn't work.
Yeah, it did kind of separate a little bit, but
it sounded like something out of a David Fincher crime movie or something. Like it didn't.
Right.
Like it just didn't. It sounded like something out of a serial killer movie, and it didn't jive with the tone of the rest of the film to me. That's all.
Yeah, no, I mean, and not seeing them is the. I mean, there are scenes and stretches of the movie where you're wondering when they're going to attack or if they're going to attack, and that to me has to be played right to make it not boring. But I think could have been the biggest strength of this. But and then what you mentioned about, and it's funny coming from me because I'm the kind of guy that's always like, I don't need anything but action. Give me all action. But you have to pick and choose your types of movies. If I'm watching Bloodshot with Vin Diesel, I don't need to know that he played youth soccer and was really good at it. But when you're watching a movie like this, where it is action, but it's also character driven, and you have Tom frickin' Hanks in the lead, that movie should be 2 hours long. It shouldn't be 90 minutes long. You mentioned the runtime, which is surprisingly short for something like this. And that time that was cut out of exactly what you were looking for.
I think pretty much every movie I've watched over the last 2 weeks has been about 90 minutes.
It's been trending down. It has. I mean, for so long.
Really interesting. I think the shortest movie I watched this week, they were all. I don't think I had anything that was over 99 minutes.
And I'm fine with that. For the right type of movie.
They can all be that way as far as I'm concerned, as long as you do it right, as long as you maximize the time.
Yeah,
right?
if you can fit your story.
I don't care.
Yeah, but in this case, you can't fit your story in 90 minutes. You have to sacrifice depth of story. You have to just assume that Tom Hanks is a good guy.
We're talking about real events and real things that happened and real battles. I expect a little bit more depth.
Right.
For a movie like this than I do from Palm Springs.
Yeah, we need more depth. Pun intended.
Like essentially the same runtime, and Palm Springs accomplishes more in its 90 minutes.
Exactly. But that being said, I think I enjoyed it fully. I think a lot of people will. I think obviously if you have Apple TV,
your dads will like Greyhound.
Your dads will love Greyhound.
This is the kind of movie that your dad likes. I don't care who your dad is. Your dad probably likes Greyhound.
Yeah. He could put the VHS when they release it right next to the Outlaw Josie Wales and all that other stuff that I just watch all the time. But yeah, so I I'm good with Tom Hanks staying in this World War II zone that he's in because it's just.
We should also mention that Tom Hanks wrote the script for this.
Right now, is that the first time he's written other stuff?
He wrote the last time he wrote a script was Larry Crown, so it's been a while. That was 2011, I think. So it's been a while since he's written a script.
But is it the first war movie that he's done? Like him and Spielberg and their.
Yeah, I think it might be the first war script he's done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many movies he's written. Period. Or I don't know if he's written anything for TV that I don't know about, considering all the HBO war things that he's like been producer, like at least been a producer on.
Right.
I don't know. But I know that in terms of feature films, the last one he did was Larry Crown. So, which Larry Crown was not great.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. I kind of think I felt okay about it, but I didn't think it was good. I think the best thing to come out of this, not the best thing to come out of this.
It was one of those, Tom Hanks is uniquely aware of what his public image is.
Mm-hmm.
Larry Crown was like a movie that spoke to his public image. And to an extent, Greyhound is too.
Yeah.
I mean, Greyhound is too. He wrote a character for himself that bolsters our idea of him as a fatherly protector. I mean, the movie is based off the book The Good Shepherd. Mm. The shepherd keeping his flock safe from the wolves. The wolves are the Nazis who are trying to kill them. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he put himself in the role that that we kind of expect from him.
Right.
And that's fine. I got nothing wrong with that. I'm just noting the fact that he wrote the script for this as well. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
Because it is such a rare thing.
Yeah. And I've been trying, my computer's moving slow as shit. I was trying to pull up his writing credits, but we'll just have to skip on that because it's getting late. But yeah, I mean, Greyhound, it's definitely, like we mentioned, it's 90 minutes, so it's not going to take up your whole day. And if you're into World War II movies, I think it's kind of a must-see to the collection, because you don't see, there's plenty of World War II boat movies, but a lot of them are sub-movies. There hasn't been a really good, I might be missing something obvious, but there hasn't been a really good warship movie about World War II since the 60s or 70s, I think, when they had a bunch of them. So if you're into that, go for it. It's better than Midway. I'll give it that, for sure. Oh, man. So we've talked about obviously quite a bit about Charlize Theron and how she's become this major action star, but one place she hasn't been is on comic book pages. She's treading that water all around it. Being in Fast and the Furious, all these action movies she's got. Why hasn't she been in a Marvel movie?
I don't know.
Well, on your notes, you told me to ask that question.
Oh, well, I mean, I didn't tell you to ask that question. That was something she had revealed this week, that she's never been asked by Marvel to do a superhero movie, like, ever. Which I was sort of blown away by that. Like, in fact, I went digging through like our old posts trying to find like instances where she was up for a role for a Marvel movie, and I couldn't really find any. But she said she's never been asked by Marvel to be in a superhero movie. I just found that amazing, considering
that is
that she's done and all that she's accomplished, and all the people who have already joined Marvel that we never expected to.
The only thing,
Angelina Jolie in Eternals coming up. Angelina Jolie.
And that blows out my next thing, is I was going to say the only thing I can think of, and this is going to go back to sounding a misogynistic pig, but it's the truth the way that Hollywood works, is she is older, and they sign these character contracts for 10 years they're looking to get out of somebody. So, she'll be in her mid-50s by the time her movies are done. But even still, that seems the reason. It seems a stupid thing not to, because they have to have a list, and she's got to be on the list. How do you not ask her?
Honestly, I think they're just waiting for the perfect role. And at some point, she will be in a Marvel movie. They'll ask her to do something.
All right, so cast it. Just totally outside of what they've announced, just in a hypothetical world, which Marvel character is she best to play?
I would love to see her as like, this won't happen because there's already another version of this character. I would have loved to have seen her as Valkyrie. but not the Tessa Thompson Valkyrie, like the original Valkyrie. She would have been great as that. She could still be great at that, actually. But that won't happen, obviously.
Well, there were a fleet of Valkyrie, but there
were a fleet of Valkyrie, but there was one particular Valkyrie,
right,
for a long time. Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie didn't exist in the Marvel universe before she was on Thor Ragnarok. So, just like the Valkyrie, Charlize Theron would have been great for that. I'm sure there's plenty of other things that she would have been fantastic for that I can't think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, but, and this is why I'm not a casting director, because I'm stuck. She's blonde, obviously, so I'm just thinking of blonde characters. I have no vision.
She's not blonde. She's not blonde in the Old Guard.
That's true. She's not. So I always think of her as blonde.
She's not blonde in Mad Max.
That's what I'm saying. She doesn't have any hair in Mad Max, but
she can change her look pretty easily compared to a lot of other people.
I'm not highlighting her lack of versatility. I'm highlighting my lack of vision. That if somebody's blonde, I can always see them as blonde.
Here's the question, though.
I was like, Sue Storm? No.
Here's the question. Charlize Theron.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%.
But no, I do think they're just waiting for the perfect role for her to come around, and she will eventually do it. I don't think it has to do with age. The people that, like I say, Jolie's in there. They've had Tilda Swinton in there. Mm-hmm. I mean, and her role was pretty actiony too. Right. But I don't think they're worried about that. And let's be real, Charlize Theron looks half her age. She looks half her age, and regardless of how she looks, if she looks half her age, she's badass right now. Yeah. Doing whatever it is she's doing. I mean, so there's a ton of stuff that Marvel. I'm sure Marvel has their eyes on something that they would love to ask her for, and that at some point it will come around. We just haven't got there yet. And
then there's also the chance that she's already been asked and was just playing mom on it.
I don't think she would do that.
Because
in the context of this interview that she gave, it didn't sound like that. It didn't sound like anything like that. She was being pretty straight up because she was talking about how she's, she hasn't really needed Marvel. She's been able to forge her own pathway.
Right.
That was the fact. That was the entire point of it. She's been able to do her own thing. She hasn't needed Marvel. So I don't think they've been asking her for anything. I think she's legit. She legit hasn't been asked yet, but I think that will come around at some point.
So sticking in the comic book world, we got Janelle Monae as Storm. I didn't see this story.
These are the two stories you're starting off with.
Well, we got the Batman spinoff to talk about as well.
I thought you would start off with
that. No. I figured it kind of went together a little bit, but Janelle Monae. So obviously, they
Storm. She's not playing Storm. She wants to play Storm.
Right, but it leads into a question of what do they? They're obviously rebooting the X-Men after the last movie, Dark Phoenix, but. Is there a chance they keep if somebody's really good, they keep them? Like obviously Ryan Reynolds will stay the same, but they can always play that off for jokes.
You think they're going to keep Alexandra Shipp as Storm?
I kind of liked her. Storm was the first Storm that was like to me authentic to what I remember from the comics. She sounded South African. She sounded.
But she didn't do anything in the second movie in Dark Phoenix.
She didn't. She did absolutely nothing. But
less than nothing.
The bit she had.
She complained openly about the fact that Storm has nothing to do in the second movie.
Right.
So I don't know. They're probably not going to keep that. They're probably not going to keep her.
Well, not her specifically, but do they recast everybody? I mean, I guess you might as well. Yeah. You
recast everybody except Ryan Reynolds. And the reason why you do that is because Deadpool, he can write everything that he's been through as Deadpool can be written off with a single line of dialogue.
Right. Yeah. He's the only one that can break the fourth wall and and basically do what he wants.
Exactly. So that's why you don't. That's why you keep him. You can just write it off. It's so easy that it doesn't really matter.
Right.
So plus he's the one that's the most popular. So why would you do it anyway? But
fair enough.
But yeah, you could just write it off as as being some sort of weird dementia or something he's going through. Whatever. They could do whatever they wanted to. They could literally have him hop from a comic book page into the screen and everybody would just accept it. But
well, that's the beauty of that character is the complete and total utter, and the beauty of the character plus having the exact right person to play them that it just works with him there. So, all right, so we'll go to the.
I like the idea of Janelle Monae as Storm. Though I mean, she's a little petite for it, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I just want to know if
Halle
they,
Berry's time has passed for that role.
yeah,
His leadership was fine for the first film, not so much the second one. She didn't get to do anything. She hasn't made enough of an impression to hold on to that if Marvel wanted to even do that.
right.
You know, or maybe, you know who would be good for it? That would be really interesting. Jodie Turner-Smith from Queen and Slim.
Oh, I was so confused. I thought you were talking about Cody. For some reason, the guy that played Nightcrawler, I was like, he's a dude. What are you talking about?
Smith McPhee, no.
Yeah, I'm saying like that.
Smith from Queen and Slim,
Right,
would be pretty good. I think that's well.
I just want them to make sure whoever they cast is age appropriate to Chadwick Boseman, because I desperately want to see that Black Panther Storm hookup on the big screen. I want that to play into something.
I could think of worse ways to introduce Storm and to introduce mutants into the MCU than to have Storm show up in Black Panther 2.
Yeah, because that's the other thing,
And
is you don't need
a sort of love triangle between T'Challa and I can't remember Lupita Nyong'o's character's name, but make a sort of a tense love triangle thing going on there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because everybody keeps thinking of the X-Men as a group, but I mean, nothing says they have to introduce them as a group. It can be that they're introduced across 5 or 6 different movies that come out, and then you have a group movie instead of Avengers. You have X-Men, and that's their group.
I think it's just as likely that when they introduce Wolverine. I think it's just as likely to introduce him by himself.
Yeah.
I don't think they introduce him, and certainly Deadpool will be introduced by himself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they introduced the X-Men as a team at all. Actually, I think they introduced them slowly.
That just makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, you introduce a person here, a person there. You establish that mutants exist, and then you worry about introducing the team.
Right. I always hated the idea of them doing some kind of Crisis on Infinite Earths type deal in the Marvel world where they all just show up and like, oh, we're the X-Men, we're here.
Yeah, no, that's a bad way of doing it.
Yeah. So Gotham just ended last year. And now we've got a brand new take on Batman, supposed to hit theaters October 1st, 2021. So that's another year away now. But in the TV world, so Matt Reeves is doing a Batman spinoff that's kind of like Gotham, I guess.
Yeah, it's him and Terrence Winter, writer of The Sopranos and creator of Boardwalk Empire. So they're doing a spinoff of the Batman, which comes out next year. We're thinking that the movie's probably going to be a trilogy. It probably will be. There'll probably be some sort of expansion of that universe. This pretty much confirms that it will be definitely not part of the DCEU. But this spinoff is going to be a prequel, is what it sounds like. It's going to be a prequel. And it's going to be very similar to Gotham. It's going to be based on the Gotham Central comic books. It's going to go into the corruption of Gotham City, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We don't know how far ahead of the Batman it is. So we don't know if you could possibly see a Bruce Wayne in there, like a young Bruce Wayne or whatever. We don't know.
Right.
We have no idea how that's going to go. It's really early on in it, so we don't really know anything.
I just love this idea of having these. I mean, because we obviously the ground's been paved by things like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's never been really utilized.
Which has been great this year, I might add.
I keep hearing that. I need to get back into it. I'm about
this
3
season
seasons
has
behind.
been a lot of fun. This time travel season.
Yeah, see, that scared the shit out of me when I heard that, because I was like, oh, time travel. I mean, I don't know how that's going to work, and I'm fine with time travel in general, but when you insert it into the 7th season of a show, it's always questionable. But
it's the first season I've watched in a while. Like, I haven't watched one since maybe season 4 or 5.
So you just jumped back in, or did you get caught up first?
I just jumped back in.
Maybe I'll do that.
Jump back in. I didn't watch last season at all. I knew they were facing like chromacons or something like that, like these robotic things,
right?
Things, but I didn't watch any of it, so I don't know anything about it. I just jumped in. So
maybe I'll do that, because I don't have time to catch up with that. But
honestly, I don't think you need to. I don't think after watching this far of it, I don't think you need to have watched it. I mean, it's time travel already, so you're kind of starting from square one.
That's true.
With them, so it's been really fun. They've been playing, they're doing some different things in terms of like stylistically. They've been doing some different things. I love seeing Mac as the leader. I was thinking about it while I was watching it. I think Mac's been the leader for a few seasons now. Because I think even when I was watching it, it just become leader of Shield. But I was thinking about of the characters that I would want to see if any of these characters ever made the jump to the MCU on the big screen. The ones I would want to go, and I think primarily it would be Mac, played by Henry Simmons. I would want to see him make the jump to the big screen, and like Ming-Na, like I would, and Ming-Na as May, Agent May.
Yeah,
like they're the two characters I would want to see make the jump.
Yeah, I could
more
see
so
that.
than Coulson. Like I don't need to see Coulson anymore.
No, his time is done. But that show, the one thing about that show, and really all these shows, is that none of them felt cinematic to that level. Like if you look at like Chloe Bennett and
I'm looking at Chloe
Fitz,
Bennett.
yeah, Fitz and Simmons, all that, they're great characters, but they don't feel like.
So here's a question.
Oh yeah,
Chloe
don't even
Bennett.
ask it. Yes, 110%. So they don't feel like they could cross over into the Marvel movies. You could see some cross down, like Lady Sif came down, and that wasn't too jarring, but none of them felt cinematic. Like you could drop them in a movie like the Avengers and say, "Oh, we're your backup" or whatever. But that's
just that first episode. That first episode did.
Yeah. I'll give it that. It had a hell of a pilot. But that's the cool thing about this Batman, and simply the fact that Matt Reeves is with it and he's directing the movie. I could be completely wrong. It might be totally jarring and different, but the idea that in the future we could have these coexisting TV shows and movies, what they've been going toward, that the series almost act like special features. Like it'll enhance the movies, but you don't have to watch them. And it's really like, if this is our movie, it's a self-contained story. But if you like it and you want more of it, this follows right along with it too. You know what I mean? It's something that seamlessly goes from big to small screen, and so you can just have more of it. Because I think the streaming is really. I get end up hurting movies a little bit in a way down the road that people are expecting more connection with their characters. They're expecting to spend more time with them. So it's really hard to get attached to a character, especially in a new movie that hasn't been a franchise, in an hour and a half or 2 hours. You don't feel the same connection you do with these TV show characters.
I think that's one of the things I've liked about this season, is that it's felt like one long movie.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
It's felt like, because they're kind of jumping around, like boom, 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 boom. It's just kind of keeps going and going and going. It feels like one long movie, and I think that's, if I was going to do a show like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that's how I'd want to do it.
Oh yeah,
I'd want to do a show like that, like not so episodic.
You don't need a monster of the week. You can
right.
You can
It
get
should
your little
be
arcs
just like
without
that,
it.
like one long mission, right? But spread out over the course of the season. That's kind of the way this season has been. It's been a lot of fun.
Speaking of one long mission, we are now 10 minutes over, and if we go much longer, we won't be able to edit the show. So I guess we got to wrap up here.
You mean you won't be able to edit the show?
Yeah, you won't have to wait 48 hours like usual to get it. So we're going to cut here. We'll be back. We'll be back next Tuesday, right? We don't have anything going on then.
Next Tuesday?
Yeah, next Tuesday. Next Sunday, excuse me.
So we got something planned that I don't know about?
I was going to say Sunday at 2, and somehow that turned into Tuesday. I don't know. That's
we'll be back. I think we'll be back next week. Maybe. I'll be honest. There's so little that's coming out next week. Next week might be a good week to take a week off, but we'll discuss that during the week.
Okay. Well, keep an eye out on the site every day to find out. punchdrunkcritics.com. Travis, you want to roll down your socials? Social security number?
You can find me on Twitter at punchycritic. You can find Punch Drunk Critics at PDC Movies. John is at Punch Drunk John, but he doesn't tweet or anything, so don't bother. You can find us on Facebook as well. You can find Cinema Royale there. You can find Punch Drunk Critics there. You can find me on Twitch at cinematic_enforcer. And still waiting on John to make his stream, but he doesn't seem to want to do it. That's about it.
Yeah, the whole idea about the kids being part of the show, since I don't have an option otherwise, really got me thinking about it. So I'm gonna have to see how I can do that.
Sure.
But yeah, so all right, until next week.
Somebody to play Overwatch with.
There you go. I think I'm finally getting not tired of Red Dead Redemption. I just need to take a little break from it. So maybe that's what I'll do when I get home today.